guys, it's your girl Aisha, aka Geek XX Chic, and I'm back with another reaction to Cloak and Dagger. We are now on episode 3, which is called Stained Glass, and I am very excited to jump into this episode. The last episode was part of the two-part season premiere of the show. It really gave us a great foundation as to the kind of characters we're going to be dealing with Tyrone and Tandy, the backgrounds that they've come from, and also kind of setting the stage for what will kind of, I think, be the overarching goals that they're going to have this season, which I think are primarily going to be figuring out these new abilities that they are slowly discovering that they have, and also trying to maybe right some wrongs that have happened to them. As I mentioned in the last episode, Tandy, we know she's going to have a vendetta against Roxxon Corporation because they clearly are involved with not only what happened with that explosion, but, you know, the fact that her father was kind of disgraced and that they lost everything. And conversely, we've got young Tyrone, who's got this vendetta against this police officer who killed his brother and then had the whole thing covered up and made him look like he was, you know, he was making it up about this whole situation. So anyways, we see that they're kind of getting into more and more situations that are going to kind of push them into each other's orbit. Most notably in the last episode where Tyrone was about to do something very foolish but was stopped by his powers, and he ended up being transported to where Tandy was, which is very interesting because almost always he's been transported to either a safe place like his bedroom or to who he was thinking about at the time. So why he'd be thinking about Tandy in that moment, I'm not sure, or even if he was, or if it was more something to do with the fact that their powers seem to be linked. We don't know, but I am very interested to see what kind of happens now that once again they've been forced into each other's orbit, and hopefully Tandy's okay because it did not look like that car crash went well. So without further ado, let's jump into this episode and we'll chat about it after. Okay? Boop. Oh, she's alive. We're okay. Oh, but it hurt. Girl, boy, put that gun down now.
Wait, you're that kid from the party.
Mm-hmm. Give me my wallet back.
Don't take this personally, but I hope I never see you again.
Keep going in your stolen car, sweetheart. That's really smart. Like the fact that she doesn't even think of like asking how he even got out there from nowhere, but I guess she's in shock. We'll let it go.
Uncle works for the police foundation. He told me you were trying to find whoever.
Oh, does he?
Can I ask you some questions about the attack?
It happened when I fell.
They look like fingernail scratches.
Fingernail scratches?
We call them defensive wounds.
Yeah.
Why were your pants unbuckled?
Yeah. These are great questions.
Paramedic.
She went home? All that drama and she went back home? Okay. That damn pink robe.
What is going on?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What are the police doing here? What have you done?
Come on, I think you already know she's up to some illegal stuff. Where'd you think you got all them good drugs from last night, which is still in your house? Is she concussed? She probably is. Oh, now you're gonna try to take a bus out of town. Okay. What did you do, Tandy? What did you do? Back to this thing. I think it's building, it's printing something. What you printing? Statue? Figurine? My brother, can you please put that down? All those messages to your mother. Dear Lord, please help me to figure out what the hell is going on with me.
And I'm cursed.
Hi, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt her.
Girl, just been walking on a man be praying.
No, I'm just gonna stop before it sounded like I was stopping you, which I wasn't.
Was totally.
Religion. It's a common misconception.
Voodoo is, at its core, a
The jewelry on that brother, though. Did you catch them earrings?
That can even stand
Okay.
alone. Now, can I get a volunteer?
You there.
Girl, will you stop trying to push this man into all kinds of devilry? Okay, you getting real familiar. I feel like she's gonna try to sacrifice you at midnight. Run, my brother, run.
Make your wish. You'll clap your hands once. And only once.
I wish this girl would leave me alone.
Bam. Gotcha.
No, sir, the devil is at work in this house.
The Joker. Both the hopes and the fears position.
Well, which one is it?
I mentioned hopes and fears in my last thing, remember?
Fallen leaves on the way.
Is that water getting black or is it just me? What? So he just went right into the same whatever Tandy's in, right? That's crazy. They just kind of just, okay. Oh, look at the way that window is. How Black Panther. Back to Roxanne. So this is her problems. Okay. Where we go? What's happening? I'm with you, sister. What? I wouldn't eat nothing at that table, girl. Not a damn grape. Wait. Oh. Oh, the duel. Weird. He looks great in that suit. Fine. What? Oh, damn.
It won't work.
Wow. This is deep, guys. This got deep real quick. Yes, let's get him legally dealt with. I mean, good luck with that, but let's get him legally dealt with.
Wait, Tandy?
I like this. So this, oh, she's missing this shoe. So now we're both gonna know what's going on with each other. I like it.
Who is that?
Oh, he's in the car.
What is it?
I like that he asks more questions. Uh-oh. It's like the Romans. Thumbs down for death.
Hey! Stop! You can't!
Wow. Okay, her mom's in there now. Running away. That's what she always does.
Tandy, why are you helping me? Tandy! Stop!
Ooh! See the effect? That's awesome.
Stop running.
Tyrone John checks. Where did this check come from? We cash corporate checks. Let's see what you did there. Wow. That stained glass is gorgeous. Damn. Look at this imagery though. Pills. This imagery, you guys. Wow. A pill for all the things that she can't handle. That's amazing. Oh, Liam. The effect is so cool. Damn.
You okay?
Excuse you. I'm naked.
Riley, right?
That's right. None of that fits the evidence.
So what? Case is closed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, did you say the case is closed?
Check with the LT if you don't believe me.
Once corrupt, always corrupt.
Did you get your wish?
Oh, it's the church she sleeps in. I didn't even get that. Yeah, this is still printing. What is this? And who's printing it? What's even going on? Is that a voodoo statue? Guess so. Oh, it's her aunt. Why would she be printing? What is she up to? I'm all up in your house now.
I think we need to talk.
Right? Already? Please? Well, that was episode 3, guys. Wow, that was, that started out kind of like light, and then it just took a huge leap into some deep, dark stuff. Wow, this show, I'm liking it. I like the way they're handling a lot of this stuff. It's really, really well done. That was a really, really well done episode. They've all been so far, quite frankly. Episode 2 was kind of, in the middle, but this one is like, wow. Like, if they keep coming like this the entire season, y'all, I don't know if we're gonna be okay when it's all said and done. We're all gonna need a little moment, a little therapy. Wow, I actually wrote down a handful of notes because there's a lot of stuff. Like, let's just jump into it because there's actually a lot of pretty heavy stuff that was dealt with. This whole idea that both of them had this episode, seeing Tandy continue with her reflex to run, right? This reflex that she's had from a very young age, that when things get weird or heavy or scary, she just basically wants to run away from it. It was really, really brought out in this episode. Like, we saw it, of course, she has this car accident before she even starts to ask, like, how this man suddenly appeared in a road that wasn't there before, why it's the same boy that she's seen 3 times, why he was randomly shooting. Like, I mean, I get that she was on the run at the moment, but it's like the fact that all of that was just like, whatever, I'm too weirded out. This might actually require me to think and get involved. I'm just gonna run away again. Very interesting that, this is always Tandy's response. And I mean, it's very realistic and relatable that she just kind of thinks that not being there or trying to outrun her feelings is always going to be the answer, but clearly it's never the case. And I thought it was kind of interesting that she ended up back at her house with her mother when it was all said and done, because she could have kept going. She probably could have just kept driving across state lines. She has a new ID, she has all these things, she could continue going. But the fact that she kept coming back, it's very, to me, kind of reflective of how with her taking the pills that she does and then using the drugs, that no matter how hard she tries to run from those negative emotions, they're not gone, right? You can't run away from what's going on in here and in here. So she ends up taking the drugs, which again is another form of not dealing with her issues and dealing with her problems. So very interesting that they kind of touched on that really early in the episode, and then it just kind of got deeper and deeper. Like, I really like this interesting, which I don't know if they're ever going to explain to us what's exactly happening with this whole dream scenario thing they keep getting into. I think someone in the comments mentioned that this isn't something that was typically in the comics with this dream realm thing that they're doing. I'm not, like I said, I'm not opposed to it though, because budgetarily it's a good idea to give it kind of a side option for their powers that doesn't involve them using the special effects and the practical effects so heavily. But the fact that they both can just go into it, like both of them before with Tandy, it took contact with somebody, right? It took contact with her mother or contact with Liam, and the same thing with Tyrone. He was physically in contact with the cop, but this time it was just a matter of them just relaxing into a state of like letting their subconscious take over. And in Tandy's case, I think she might actually have a mild concussion as well, which is probably part of it. Oh, that makes sense now why the auntie said I could concuss you. That's right. So hers was induced by the concussion and his was induced by the cleansing bath, which, I mean, the voodoo stuff was weird, but it is true that milk thistle and I think the other 2 things she mentions are known for like drawing out toxins. So either way, they both had to be in a place where their conscious mind had to relax so that what was beneath that could come out and play, and that they seem to be linked at that level and potentially have always been. But obviously their reconnection at the graveyard is really what sparked all of this, I guess, resurgence of all of these thoughts. Let's kind of get back into what happened in these 2. That was a major part of this episode, was just these sequences that both Tandy and Tyrone went through. I really like that the show chose to use this medium for them to be exposed to each other's stories. Because for both of them, Tandy's story is so hard and messed up and deep and emotional. Like, she doesn't even admit, like, to Liam, who she's clearly known for some time, someone she's physically and emotionally, I guess, as intimate as she gets with someone, she still couldn't even talk about those things with him. So imagine her trying to tell this to Tyrone, who she really doesn't know, right? And same thing with Tyrone. He's trying so hard to be this person that everyone wants him to be, to try to honor his brother, as we discovered in this episode. It was not going to be something he could just sit down with Tandy and be like, so, when my brother was murdered, right? Like, it's just not easy topics. It's not an easy subject matter for either of them. So I'm glad that the show took this medium, because honestly, we could have probably taken 2-3 episodes for this to come out, but let's be real. They're teenagers, and even beyond that, as people, we have a really hard time discussing deeply disturbing emotional topics. It's just something that we usually struggle to tell people that we know about, or professionals even about. So I like that the show just said, you know what, let's not even put that on these characters. Let's put it in a way where they can actually be there and see it and experience it. And then that way, the harder stuff that's harder to say won't need to be said. But the symbolism, oh my God, kudos to whoever wrote this episode. OMG, there was so much symbolism. Like, I feel like I gotta go back and watch those sequences, because there were so many things. Like, it reminds me of the This Is America video by Donald Glover, with like, there's so much in there, so many messages that were layered within what we actually saw, that I'm sure I missed some things. But seeing with, we'll start with Tyrone's story, since that's what we started with Tandy, her actually getting to see like this amazing connection that Tyrone and Billy had growing up, and how much Tyrone really idolized this guy, you know, down to wearing his big old jacket all the time. Like, he just really wanted to be his brother, as most little brothers typically do. And seeing that his brother was always trying to steer him in the right direction, even though Billy was kind of being pulled into, or pulled towards, doing things he knew he shouldn't have, he was always trying to be a good brother and be a good example. And then having that ripped away from him so violently, so unnecessarily. And then on top of that, you know, seeing the way that he's been dealing with it. And I love that they brought out with both Tyrone and Tandy's stories, how they both deal with things currently and how it's not working for them. In Tyrone's case, he's always looking for like the anger, the outburst, the lashing out, right? So first we see him with the gun, the impulsive act that we saw last week with the cop. It's not gonna make things better, right? And I love the fact that they showed he picks up the gun, he shoots the cop, but his parents end up being the ones who also fall down dead. Again, symbolizing it would kill his parents. It would kill his parents to see him go to jail for murdering a cop. Like, that'd be losing another son. That's like, no, like that would not benefit him in the least. Second scenario, he grabs the noose. The noose symbolic for kind of how he feels, like he said in his little prayer that, you know, I'm trying so hard to do and be the things everyone wants me to be, and I can't. I'm not doing it. I'm failing. I feel like I'm not doing well. It's like being in a noose, you know, like feeling like you're kind of struggling against something that you're not. And on top of that, also feeling like the cops, I mean, there was a lot of symbolism there with the torches and the cops beating, like, come on, what's going on in America right now? Like, the show I actually am very proud of them for throwing in a very relevant, very current situation that's going on for a lot of young black men right now as well, that, you know, he doesn't have the luxury a lot of other kids do as far as just living his life. Like, he's constantly got this threat as well to deal with, these pressures outside of the ones that are coming from his own home and his own background to deal with. And again, you know, that running and you know, kind of fighting up against it is not the way to go. And then we see with the third scenario, he's gonna come back and grab yet another way to lash out. And that's when finally Tandy's like, dude, no, you're not going, you can't do this. You're coming at this from a dark place, and every time you do that, it's going to it's gonna hurt other people, it's gonna hurt you, it's not gonna fare well. And then you see automatically this light comes from her, this weapon of light comes through, because that's what he needs. He needs that light, he needs that levity to actually come into him, and that better place to come from in order to kind of solve all this darkness that he's got going on in himself, instead of continually reaching for the wrong thing. So, you know, she gives him this weapon, and at least this loop, this cycle that he's, you know, been in for probably years, finally gets broken. I thought that was really just, so well done, beautifully done. And the imagery with the big old oak trees and the smoke effects and the fog and the swamp, you know, that's so indigenous to New Orleans, and just it was just beautifully shot. All of it was great. Fantastic. Then we move on to her seeing him with all these checks, which I'm not sure what the check reference is. I might have to go back, but all these checks that are written to Tyrone from Billy. And I'm sure there's some symbolism there that I'm missing, but just the fact that he's in this room later on with all this money cashed. And my guess is that there might have been a little bit of bribery or blood money potentially that was given to the family because of the whole cover-up thing and trying to keep them quiet and not asking too many questions about Billy's death. And maybe Tyrone always feeling like he's under the burden of that as well, like taking this money, enjoying this life that they have right now, even though what really happened to his brother was never actually resolved. So that was really, and just crying, like just seeing this little boy sitting amongst all this paper alone and scared and just crying, like that was such a really powerful image. And I'm so glad that we saw her just trying to fight to get to this poor little boy and just help him and soothe him, because that's really all Tyrone's looking for at the basest of levels, is that comfort and that sense of not being alone, which he clearly feels very isolated at the moment. Brilliantly done with that montage. I think it really helped give Tandy an idea of where Tyrone's coming from, where this seemingly veneered preppy kid, what's really going on underneath all that, all those layers and all that pain, and actually being able to see it and see, like I said, at the center of it is just this poor, sad, lost little boy who misses his brother so very much. And then we go over to Tandy's story with Tyrone watching her see her father, again, the Roxxon Corp being the central part of it. Like that whole thing with the sign coming down on her and her being scared, like it's such a symbol for how she feels this company has been to her and her family. We saw her mention a few episodes ago about her mother, her and her mother having that argument about how they've gone to court over and over again about how they basically did their family dirty once their father was killed, or died, I should say, because I mean he did run off the road. But digressing, the fact that they took everything from them, and they've clearly probably discredited her father and shamed him and basically taken away all of his credibility. That's like having that corporation, that sign, that symbolism crashing down on her and crushing her mom. That was great imagery there. Then going to, that room, that glass room where, the dad's strapped into the same car seat that he drowned in, having all the people were probably his corporate partners all saying like, nope, like here's our fall guy, he doesn't get to live, right? Thumbs down. For those of you who know a lot about your Roman history, you know that back in the Colosseums, thumbs down was the emperor's call as to whether or not to let the survivor or whoever was in the arena survive or not, or be allowed to live or not. So much symbolism being thrown into that scene. And then the waterboarding, right? Because he drowned, but it's essentially like his company waterboarded him to death when you think about how this whole chain of events kind of happened, right? So, oh my God, like it was just, I can't get over how good it was. It was such a well done montage, both sides of it. So getting distracted. So yeah, that happens, and then you see, instead of going in, because Tyrone's like, whoa, we gotta help this guy, he's tied, he's strapped, you can't just sit there while this man's being forcibly drowned. And what does Tandy do? She turns and she runs the other direction as fast as she can. She gets stuck in some mud, which is again this whole idea of you can't run from your problems. The mud represents the fact that it's here. She's running from something she can't run from. And then boom, reset. We're back, same scenario. Now her mom's there. Her mom going and trying to fight with this corporation. We see her in the room, fighting with the corporation, trying to save her husband, trying to save herself. Doesn't work. Right back to her dad being drowned again. Again, Tyrone's like, wait, like, let's do something. Let's stop this. What does Tandy do? Turns and runs away, because that's the way she handles. That's the way she's always reflexively handled deep, scary, emotional stuff. Gets stuck. Once again, can't get through, almost drowns this time. Reset, comes back the third time. Now same thing, it's like she's in there, little baby girl's in there fighting, screaming, begging for her dad to be safe. Right back to where she was that day when he died. Likely also how she felt long before that, with between her and her mom and everything else, just fighting for this man. And then she's about to run away again when she sees that the waterboarding is going to happen again. And I noticed that the water changed to something red this time. And I don't know if it was supposed to be blood or wine. Probably wine, because her mom is an alcoholic. But just, amazing. And then again, we get Tyrone stepping in and going, no, like, you can't keep running away. It doesn't work. You have to stop. And I love that they had the effect of the darkness coming out and enveloping her and stopping her from that running, from that fear, and saying, no, you have to stay. We have to do something different. And then, of course, she produces that light weapon again. It banishes the darkness away from her, but she goes up and she's ready to basically tear down the walls of this horrible construct in her mind that she's been living over and over and over again, right? So that stops that loop finally, because now she realizes running from it is not going to stop it. But then we go to the last scenario where she's in the church where she's been living. It didn't hit me until I saw him coming from the outside, the church she's been sleeping in, and the stained glass, which obviously the name of the episode, but again, brilliantly showing these huge moments in her life that have impacted her, from that last time, like her as a ballerina, which to me represents the last time her life was happy and perfect and innocent, to her father up being crucified, which quite figuratively happened to him. And that's kind of where everything went downhill for her. And then we see this little girl, again, at the heart of all of this, the heart of Tyrone's issues and the heart of Tandy's issues, still children. This little girl sitting there, instead of handing out communion biscuit, she's handing out all the pills, the drugs, something else that now that she's, you know, the running away is the one way she does it, the physical leaving, but the drugs is the other way she's been running away, right? Giving pills to all these men who, I'm assuming the older men were most likely men that have been coming in and out of her mother's life since her father died. Men who she's probably developed some emotional attachment to at some point, potentially, before they disappeared once probably the drugs or whatever wore off or ran out. And then we see, of course, some younger boys, probably guys that she's dated or guys that she's used in the past to try to fill that gap, because let me tell you all, daddy issues are real. And then finally we get to Liam, this her latest victim, and the fact that once they take these pills, they just take a few steps away and fall over like they're dead, right? Representing that's for her emotionally, mentally, they might as well be dead to her, right? That's how she deals with things. Just like and Liam being her most recent victim, like, yep, you came, you tried to get to me, you tried to get to this emotional place that I keep walled off, taking my drugs, running away. As far as I'm concerned, you're dead to me. That's how I can deal with the fact that I'm not gonna have you in my life anymore. Like, just so good. So good. Whoever wrote this episode deserves all the awards, okay? All the awards. It was so well done. I can't say it enough. Great symbolism in those two montages. I loved it. So, sorry I rambled, but I thought there was so much in those two scenes to unpack, and I'm sure as I probably missed some things, but I thought it was brilliantly done. If the show keeps bringing it like this, I'm telling you, they better win some awards. That's all I have to say. I guess the only other thing that kind of came out besides those big, because I think that was the bulk of the episode, was just the exposition for both those characters on their stories to each other, and now realizing that they both have a lot in common, and that they also, as Tyrone very pointedly said at the end, we need to talk. You and I need to talk. There's something going on, and you can't keep running. I think he's been willing to talk about it, but she needs to just stay put now that he's all up in her house now. They need to talk this through. Outside of that, I think the biggest thing that I saw was this cop. We saw now that the cop definitely knows now that there's some fishy business going on within the police structure there. The scarred policeman, unsurprisingly, made the whole thing with the rich kid go away. I mean, in a way, it's good for Tandy in the sense of at least she does not going to be looking at a assault and also a robbery charge. But obviously it was made to go away because that young man figured out pretty quickly that it was proven that he tried to sexually assault her. That was going to be a bigger problem. So whoever this guy, he says my uncle. You know, it's the same thing. I'm wondering if maybe, because remember the police officer said that the one that killed Billy said before, I got to call my uncle. And now this kid said the same thing. This is my uncle's house. I'm going to call my uncle because he knows somebody on the police board. I'm wondering if uncle is like some big baddie we're going to be introduced to later. Like maybe uncle is just like the generic term people use for him so that they don't have to use names, but they just all, from now on, it's like, just call me your uncle. Call me your uncle. Like I could totally see that. I'm starting to think it's the same person and that he's got his hands on a lot of stuff in New Orleans. Like we're talking some deep criminal roots that stretch pretty far. Because in both cases, we've got people who are involved who have lots of money and potentially drugs. So yeah, I just noticed that was something interesting with the whole, both this crooked cop and this jerkwad of a boy, both mentioning an uncle who managed to make everything go away from them legally. And then finally we had the whole thing with the girl's auntie. I cannot remember the girl who is all about the voodoo, her aunt. She clearly, I think, picked up on something where Tyrone was concerned that she didn't talk to him about at that point, but I'm really confused as to why she has a 3D printer. That just seemed random to me. But anyway, printed out this this statue of him after only seeing him once. And my guess is that Tyrone's gonna need someone, because thank you so much to the people in the comments who explained to me Tyrone's powers and the way they work, but there's some kind of this death gate. There's something to do with this whole death gate and the whole dark force that fuels Tyrone's power. And my guess is that this aunt is going to be the person who's going to explain that part of the powers to him, because he obviously has no idea how it happens or what it entails. But I think she's going to end up being the person who's going to steer him through that, because my guess is that her ancient voodoo knowledge or whatever is going to have some knowledge about how this whole dark power and how the dark dimension works, and she's going to be the one to help Tyrone navigate through it. So that's the only reason I could think of bringing her into this episode, even though she was really only there to tell him two things, right? She was like, yeah, take a bath, get out. So anyway, that was pretty much all I had on the episode. As I said, it was really good. Those montages are definitely probably one of my top 10 moments of television, yeah, like ever. Really, really well done. Really, just kudos to the writers and the directors for that. It was spot on for what it needed to accomplish, and I liked the way they handled it. This episode was really, really good. They've all been good. This season so far is like A+. I'm really looking forward to watching this. What did you guys think of this episode? How did you feel about that whole montage? Do you feel like the storytelling was done really, really well? Is it close to what's in the comics, or is it still a little bit off? Please let me know in the comments below what you're thinking. If you were as hyped about this imagery as I was, or if I'm just going off on my own little weird tangent. And if you like this video, guys, please click like. And if you want to see more from this geeky face, please click subscribe. Until next time.